Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome to Goldwing Docs. We've got a review of another great product from Innovv. This time it's the H5 action camera. Coming up next. So if you've been a member or follower of Goldwing Docs for any amount of time, you would know that the good folks at Innovv have been very good to us over the years. They've got us their camera products, their motorcycle action camera products, usually before they're released or very early on in the release cycle, so that we can review it on the channel. And not only that, when we've had feedback either from myself or from our members about, maybe some changes or improvements they might make, they almost always make them. They really listen to the ideas and issues that people actually have in everyday use. For that reason, I have actually had this now for several months. It's been sitting on my desk waiting to be reviewed. They sent it to me and then shortly thereafter said, you know what? Hang on, don't review it yet, because we've had several reports that people are having issues with the mounting system. So they said, we're going back to the drawing board, we're redesigning the mounting system. When we've got it right, we'll send you the new mounting system and then you can go ahead and do the review. So they have done that. They've sent me the new mounting system and a bunch of other goodies. So we're going to have a look at this. So what is the H5? Unlike some of the other cameras like the K5, and I mean, we've done a lot of Innovv cameras over the years, all those cameras mount on your motorcycle and wire into the motorcycle so that you have kind of a dash cam, forward looking, rear looking. It's 4K, so you get some really good images. I will put links to all of our other Innovv reviews so you can get an idea of what these cameras look like, how they work, what the images look like, how they're used, and that sort of thing. I'll put that in the description below of this video. However, this camera is different. This is an action camera that the idea is that you mount it to your helmet so that it's kind of a point of view. Wherever you look, the camera looks, but it doesn't have to be mounted to your helmet. You could mount it to a bicycle, and I think they have a bicycle mount. Maybe it's included in here. We'll see once we open it up. But basically anything that moves, you can just mount this thing to it and get a image stabilized 4K high quality video with sound of whatever it is that you're doing that causes you to have action and require an action camera. All right, so let's open this up and see what's actually contained inside it and get to playing with this. All right, so let's leave the extra goodies off to the side for the moment and we'll open up the main event. And we have a nice cool magnet box. We've got the instructions. And as is typical with Innovv, you have all the instructions on one giant page here. Shows how things actually connect up, shows how the app works, because obviously this does not have a screen like the other Innovv products. Therefore, you use your cell phone to control the various settings. And there it is. Okay, so we've got some cat fur in there. And let's pull this out here. Okay, so we've got a battery here. It has a USB out and a USB in. They are USB-C connectors. Thank you for that, Innovv. And then here we have, you know what, before we go any further, I'm going to take my charging brick here and plug in this battery so I get some charge. And you can see as soon as we plug it in there, it just lights up. It tells us that it's charging. And let's have a look at the camera itself. Well, let's see what else we can pull out here first. So we've got this box, we got this foam, and here's the camera. Okay, so there's a connector and another box with some goodies in there. Let's take all those goodies out. Okay, so there's the old mount. We'll talk about that in a moment. Here's a USB to USB-A to USB-C charging cable. Nice. And let's get the box out of the way here. All right, so we unwrap this wire tie. What we see here is a connector that has a coiled cord and a USB-A connector. So if I were to plug that into my power brick here, yep, it turns on. And I know it's vibrating to let me know that it's turning on. It's also flashing to let me know that, hey, there's no memory card in here. And it's also buzzing. I don't know if you can hear that. I'll put it up against my microphone. So there you can actually hear that it's buzzing every few seconds to let you know, hey, there's no memory card in here, so this is not going to work. Okay, so, well, oops, I unplugged the wrong one there. Let me just plug. All right, so there is a plastic mount on the back here, and if you can see, it's actually a GoPro type mount on here. So that any type of GoPro mount will actually work with this because it actually has that in there. So here we've got, with the original mount, this is the one that they said they stopped using. So it does have a curved mount here with some VHB, actually 2 pieces of VHB to mount that to your helmet. And you could use these bolts here to either fasten it directly there, so you could just have that on your helmet, although I would probably want to have it going this way. I'm not sure. Depends on how your helmet curves. Anyway, you could have it like that, or, oh, there we go. So you could actually put it sideways like this onto your helmet. What do we got here? So this one goes like that, and this one goes like this. And so there you have a little bit more articulation. You can change the angle up and down, up and right. So if your helmet is mounted so it's a little bit farther back like that, then you have that. However, that is sticking out quite a ways from your helmet. So that is the old mount. We will take that up over here and put this away because apparently the new mount has been upgraded and no longer uses this at all. Let's have a look at the camera. Actually, I pull the mount. This looks like it has plastic. There we go. Okay. So there's the piece that actually fastens the camera to the mount itself. There's your microphone, lens. I've got the protective cover on there that we'll leave right now. We have a button that is used, only one button on the entire thing to control everything. It has one light that turns on red to let you know that it's recording, one light that turns on green to let you know that Wi-Fi is turned on. A quick press turns it on, a longer press turns it off. If you hold it down for 10 seconds, you get a factory reset. As you can see, the cable is coming out the back of it here. You can run that into wherever. To take this apart, there's actually 2 clamps here. So it's actually really quite clever how they did this. So you slide these 2 clamps on either side out like that, and it releases the back so you can just pull it away, pull it away from the camera. And this is a weather seal. I think it's IP67, IP65. I will look it up, and well, it might even say on the box somewhere. Designed for harsh environments, extra long battery life, audio input, blah, blah, blah. I don't see anything on here about what, but I did read somewhere that it is IPX something certified. Obviously, you're going to be potentially in the rain when you're riding. I can see a silicone gasket in here, so it actually seals that in there. As you can see, there's a USB output right here, and that goes into this USB input here, next to a slot where you'd fit a TF card, which is a micro SD card. It takes up to, I believe it was 256 or 512 gigabyte card. All right, so the waterproof rating is IP65, which means it is splash proof, waterproof, and dust proof, and it supports up to a 512 gigabyte card. So obviously if you had this plugged into the camera, you would then have this running down inside your jacket or somewhere. You could plug that into your bike. If you had a battery pack like this, you could just plug it into your battery pack, stick that in your pocket, and then you're good to go. The other option is the battery that comes with. It comes with a 2400 milliamp hour lithium ion cell, which also has a silicone seal in there. And just like the other one, you just plug it onto the back of the camera. Make sure it's the right way around. This is the right way around. And somehow it fits in there, I'm sure. There we go. Okay, so it takes a little bit doing. So what happens is with these 2 latches here, they open up and they allow this to slide in, and when you close it, it latches into this little centerpiece here, which latches it in place. So if we push that in, just make sure that the USB-C male is in the same side as the USB-C female. So you just line those up, push it together, lock it in place. So now you have a self-contained camera. You can just basically hold down this button, it turns on, it starts recording. Of course, this one's not going to because there's no card in it at the moment, but that's what it would do. It's a little bit heavier because you have this battery in the back. They say that it's good for about 5 hours with this 2400 milliamp hour battery. If you had a larger battery, like this is a 20,000 milliamp battery, milliamp hour battery, you could obviously plug it into this, and it would just run it for ages. So here's the first box of accessories that it came with. All right, so this is interesting. So if instead of using this piece with just a USB connector, we can pop this battery off, and I just managed to pop that all the way off, but no problem. And instead, we could use this adapter. And the difference with this one is not only does it have a power connector, but it also has a microphone, also with an adhesive strip on here with Velcro, so that you can remove the microphone if need be, because it is attached via Velcro. So you can take, oh, it's very strong Velcro, very strong Velcro. Wow. Okay, so that's going to be holding that microphone very, very solidly in place. The microphone itself is a gooseneck, so you can stick this on the outside of your helmet and then kind of like move this up and around in front of your face. If you need to come up from underneath because you have a closed face helmet, that will work. So that's what came with this one. It does say optional, but it came with it. So that's wonderful. So that's an option we could use. Then I got this from Innovv, and it's a little bit different. And this was obviously produced based on some of the feedback they got from users. It looks exactly the same, has the same type of power cord with a coil on it, same microphone. However, the microphone has a 3.5 millimeter jack on it. This is nice because if you need to take your helmet off, or if you need to take off the microphone because it's attached to something else other than your camera, or you don't have to actually disconnect this from the back of the camera. All you have to do is just undo that little plug. So that's obviously a nice little feature in addition. So let's put this off to the side for the moment. All right, we've got one more box of goodies that it came with. Let's have a look and see what's inside here. And what we have here is, okay, interesting. So we have got another of the original helmet mounts. Oh no, it's not the same. And what is this over here then? Okay, so we've got quite a few different things to go through. So we've got a piece here that is just like the other piece with the standard GoPro mount on it. It does have the VHB. However, instead of the bolts on there, it has these GoPro style finger bolts on here so that you don't need tools in order to remove it, which is nice. So if you've ever seen GoPro cameras, they all use this type of mount where you can actually do this with your fingers. Another thing I see on here is that they've got a buckle type fastener on here so that you can leave this permanently mounted on your helmet like that, and then the camera can just snap on and off as you like, which is nice because if you have this fastened on your helmet and you're leaving your helmet locked to your bike, you don't want to leave the camera just sitting there. Somebody could have come up and unscrew it and take it away, but you also don't want to unscrew it every time you want to leave your bike somewhere. So all you got to do is just push this little quick release in there, pull that off, pull the camera off your helmet, and away you go. That's a nice little feature. Okay, so we'll put that aside for the moment. That's a nice improvement. Over here we have the bicycle mount. Lots of goodies here. So we've got an Allen key that unlocks this piece here that goes around the handlebars. I'm just going to unscrew that really quick. And then you can put that around the handlebar, get it tight, put this screw back in, tighten it back in place, and now you have this piece fastened on your handlebar. You can then use these pieces here in various configurations to get the camera how you want it on your bicycle so that it's pointing in the right direction. And I say bicycle simply because this clamps around a bicycle handlebar. If you had a motorcycle other than a Goldwing, or even say a standard Goldwing, like a 4-cylinder Goldwing that uses handlebars like that, you could definitely mount this on the motorcycle simply by putting it on the handlebar. We do have the one GoPro style finger screw as well as a couple other non-screw bolts, and we've got what looks like an extra Allen screw. Okay, nice. Does that actually fit into these? Is that what that's for? No, not quite sure what that is for. It could be that they need, in case you have a longer one for here. No idea why they have this extra Allen screw in here. I don't see what that would be used for, but they've included it nonetheless. All right, push this aside. Let's have a look at the last one. This is the one that just arrived that I've been waiting for, and we'll see what's inside this. Ooh, lots of changes I see. Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is very different. Now, if we have a look at the original camera with the original mount, this just kind of grabs around it, and it has these 4 legs that go into these little indentations, and it kind of just grabs and holds the camera like this. This one is different. I mean, it still grabs it the same way, it appears. Oh, it's actually quite a bit stiffer as well. Oh, wow. I don't know how I'm going to get that on there. Well, let's give it a try and see. Ow, 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 ow. Yes, this is very much stronger. I wonder if they had an issue with the camera mounts before not being strong enough. Okay, got it on there. That took a little bit of effort to do. It's very strong. Okay, so that's definitely not going to be coming off. It's also definitely going to hold that mount or the battery in place. Notice that this is different, and I should have put this in before I mounted this on the camera. This is what you do when you have no instructions. You just make it up as you go along. So this has a screw with a washer, or it's a rubber washer, and we're going to put this through here. Nice little screw with an Allen head on it, and it looks like that mounts into this. All right, so let's put this in here. Oh, I see what they've done. Very clever. Okay, so totally radically new mounting system. So we have 2 of these. You could mount it on 2 separate helmets. They have VHB pads for each of these. And they are also quick release, as you can see here. Let's see if I can get that on there. Interesting quick release there. Okay, so this has a little bit of an articulating ball, it looks like, inside here. And then this is all metal. The rest of it is plastic, but the interior portion is metal. And then you push this in, and because it has a hexagonal nut and a receptacle in there, you can put it in and change the angle at which that's actually going to fit. So let's just pick one like that, and I'm just going to screw it in here like that. Now you notice one of the complaints I had straight away with the old mount was how far offset the helmet it was. That was something right away I picked up on. This is very different. You notice the camera, once it's actually mounted in here, is quite a bit closer to the helmet itself. So it's not sticking out anywhere near as far, and that's nice. So you can see the standoff it's almost a good 5 inches from the helmet to the camera, Whereas the difference here, it's not even half of it. It's much closer, so it's very slim into the helmet. This is a fantastic upgrade. I also noticed that the curve that they have on here, not so much of a curve on this one. In fact, I think it is completely flat. Oh, that's why. Okay, so they actually have two separate connectors here, one that is flat and one that is curved. So if you have one that more closely matches the spot on the helmet that you want to mount it, then you would use that one. Really nice, really clever engineering here by Innovv. I'm really impressed with this. So next we need to mount this on my helmet and give it a try. They are using 3M VHB, which is a very high quality adhesive. However, one thing you want to know about VHB is that the bond on VHB does not fully set up for about 24 hours. So I'm going to bond this onto my helmet, and I'll let this battery charge for a bit. Let me plug it back in, and then we will come back tomorrow. It'll still be the same video, but we'll come back tomorrow, go riding and give it a test, and then we can get some video samples and see how it looks. Even though there is some contouring in here that is going to keep it from mounting really perfectly flush, but I think maybe if I do it like that, and then I can adjust this piece here to get it facing more or less forward. So I think that's probably what I'll end up doing, is putting it right there. So let's give that a try. So we got this piece here. We'll just peel off the back of it here to expose one side of the VHB. And we'll place that on here. If I put it on like that, that's more or less pointing forwards, I think, and within the realm of adjustability. So let's stick it right about there. So I'm going to peel off the VHB backing there. All right, so let's take this camera off now, because I don't want to put pressure on the VHB while it's curing. And I'll just fit this on right here. Okay, so that's got a pretty good bond there. And we will leave that to sit overnight so we have a perfect bond on the helmet. You can see it's not entirely flush because I have contouring in there, but I think it's enough of a bond that it's for, you know, testing. It's not going to go anywhere. In fact, I could probably leave it like that. The VHB is incredibly strong, and I think that would remain in place. I mean, it's solid enough. I can already not really move it. All right, so we'll leave that to cure overnight, and tomorrow we'll suit up, get this on, get this all hooked up. We'll have the battery charged. We'll plug in the microphone and give this a try. Oh, and I also have to find a memory card to put in this. So what will be overnight for me will be just a moment of seconds for you. One moment, please.
Day 2.
All right, so to get this ready, we need to put a memory card in here, which I have right here. I've got a 128 gigabyte card that we'll put in, just like you do with any card. You push it in, and then with your fingernail, push it in until it clicks. Just like that. So let's go over some of the functions in the phone application. So I'm going to plug this in, and we'll turn it on, and it should start recording, maybe, no. There we go. So it buzzed and it flashed briefly, and now the light is on solid, and we have a flashing symbol there which says that we are looking for a Wi-Fi connection. So let's tell this thing to look for a Wi-Fi connection. And there it is. And the password, the default password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we've connected to the Innovv H5 Wi-Fi network. So I've downloaded the Innovv H5 app, and Innovv has different apps for each of their cameras. So I've downloaded this one, and it plays a cute little video there like they always do. And hopefully it's going to come up and say, yes, okay. Now there's my image, and it's a little bit blurry because I've got this plastic still over the lens. So we'll peel that off, and there's my image there. I'm looking at the camera, and so that's the live image right there. So you can use that to adjust what you're seeing on the camera so that you have an idea of where it is you're pointing. So because there is no screen, you need to have use the screen on your phone to aim the camera. So let's have a look at the settings. So we have the Wi-Fi name. You can change the name of the Wi-Fi, and the password, you can see it turns off. If you haven't connected it to it within 3 minutes after you turn the camera off, it just turns off. You can take pictures with this. So if I push the button briefly, it takes a high resolution 10 megabyte, or actually do a 20. Let's do a 20. So we'll try that. Here's our video resolution that we have. You can do 30p at 4K. If you want 60p, you have to drop down to 2.7K, which is fine, but I'm going to leave it at 4K. Bit rate, I usually leave it high because if you get a lower bit rate, you're going to get some aliasing and blocking. Video file length, 1 minute, so every minute it rolls over to a new file. Let's change that to, well, 3 minutes. 3 minutes is good. Loop recording, so it just continuously loops. You can make it record in slow motion, obviously. You can do a fast motion movie, whatever that is. Photo inversion, again, don't know what that is. Video marker, you can put text on the screen. Date stamp, we want the date and time on there. Vibration switch, so it vibrates. We have the volume that it records at. Does it adjust for the distortion of the lens? Electronic image stabilization, let's turn that on. Which apparently when we do that, we lose distortion correction. Do we change the... No, we're still at 4K. So we do have full 4K resolution with image stabilization, special effects. We can, all this kind of filters and nonsense that I'm not going to bother with. Light source frequency. We are in North America, so we want 60 hertz. If you're in Europe, you want 50 hertz. Multi-spot metering, which is basically how is it adjusting the light? Is it looking just at the center of the image, or is it going to be looking all over? So basically multi-spot for this type of camera is probably the best. White balance auto, we'll leave that. Exposure compensation, you can jack up the brightness up and down. Time calibration, basically now it's set the time inside the camera to the same as my phone. You can clear cache, you can see what's on the card, how much is remaining. You can format the card if you want, which I won't bother doing right now. And that looks like it's about it for settings. So now once we've come out of settings, it started to record again. And so you can see a little bit of blocking there. That was interesting. So I'm going to take a quick picture. And it vibrated as I took that picture, which is nice. We can also go into the stored images within the camera, the videos and images. So there's the image that I just took, and we can download that to the phone. That's about it for the functionality of the application. So now we've got the camera all set up the way we want it to work, and we can put it on the helmet and go give it a try. All right, so first we'll drive through some lit urban areas where we have some traffic. And then we'll turn down this road, which has no lights at all. And it'll be quite dark. There's my high beams. And there's some oncoming traffic here in just a minute, so I will turn my high beams off once he comes into view. And there's my low beams. I'm going to open my helmet up and see if that makes a difference in the amount of noise coming in. So now I have my helmet visor open, whereas before it was closed. I don't know if that makes a whole lot of difference if I maybe stand up in the wind, get some more wind in there, see how the microphone rejects that wind noise. And that's set back down, visor still open. Now I'll close my visor. And now I'm riding as I normally do with my visor closed. So we'll see if that makes much difference in the way it records some sound. I guess this could be used as video evidence. If you got a speeding ticket from going through a school zone, you could say, well, look, I'm doing 20 miles an hour through the school zone. However, because this camera does not have a built-in GPS unit, unlike the other Innovv cameras, you don't get your position and speed on the screen. You do have the time and the little Innovv logo, which you can turn off if you don't want to have those there. Want to get away from that tractor trailer. And what I do find interesting is that as you're riding, you're not just getting a static picture of what's in front of the bike. You're actually sort of integrated with what you're doing as a rider. Like I'm entering this stale green light, and I'm checking for traffic that's going to kill me, and so you capture that on the camera because obviously your head's moving around and the camera's moving around with you as you move your head. Play some golf. So I'm expecting in the bright sunlight of the day that we should get a fairly decent picture in this. It is a 4K camera. I noticed that in the lower light there is a little bit of noise that it captures. Alright, I'm going to stand up here and get some wind in the helmet, in the face of the helmet. So here we go, standing up. So now I'm talking with some wind in the helmet, and I'm doing 60 miles an hour in the wind, like that. So if you didn't have a big wind chill like I did, this is what it would sound like with the microphone inside the helmet. And now I'll do the same thing with the visor open to see if you get a little bit more wind. I suspect there will be quite a bit of background noise from wind with an open helmet like this. So now that's closed again. unfortunately, I have noticed that while you're sitting here trying to talk and to the camera and explain what's going on and what you're doing and just have a conversation with whoever may be listening to this recording that probably is no one, but it does distract you from the task of riding the motorcycle. So I did notice when I went out last night and I was doing some getting some nighttime footage recording with this camera, that there was this road coming up here, just up on the left here, and as I approached it, I realized I was talking and not paying attention, and I missed this corner almost, and then when I did the turn, it was a very poor quality turn. I ended up going too fast, too wide, not the kind of thing I would normally ever do, but because I was talking at the same time, it was taking some of my attention away from actually riding, and that was the result. So I was extremely unimpressed with my riding as I was talking last night. I'm going to use the footage anyway, as embarrassing as it is, but it was very poor quality riding. I'm a much better rider than that, and for that reason, I don't think that I would make it a regular practice of riding around talking like this, because it does just distract and take away your attention from what you're supposed to be doing, which is riding the motorcycle and watching out for people who may be trying to kill you on your motorcycle as they talk on their phones. I will say I'm really glad that I'm out today on this beautiful sunny day, and the fall leaves are starting to turn, and hopefully the camera's going to be catching some of these beautiful colors that we're seeing. Watch this guy clip the corner as if nobody could ever be there. Beautiful fall colors. Look at all that. I guess you're kind of your own television director. Wherever you happen to look is where the camera's pointing. It might be useful to maybe put a little dot or something on the visor of your helmet. Just a little inconspicuous dot that represents the center of whatever the camera is pointing at. Because right now I assume that I'm, capturing these leaves. I have no real way of knowing, so I don't know that I'm actually getting a fantastic video here. But if I had a little dot or something in my helmet, or just some kind of aiming indicator that said, hey, this is where the camera is pointing, then I could ride along and say, oh, look at that tree, oh, look at that squirrel, or whatever, and it would actually capture what it is that I think it's actually capturing. Montana. Wow, he's far from home. Another stale green light. And the one thing you get with this camera that you don't get on a standard bike mounted camera is that you get to be in the video along with your helmet hair. Alright, so now we've got some test footage of this camera, and we'll go downstairs and do a summation of what I think of it.
3 days later.
All right, we're back. It's a few days later. We're back in my makeshift studio here. You might notice all the parts are now gone. So I've had a little bit of time with this camera, and here's some thoughts about what I experienced with the Innovv H5. Okay, let's talk about the image quality. I think you saw from the samples, the daytime image quality, just exceptional. Exceptional 4K image quality. Not much in the way of banding. Not a whole lot of motion artifacts. The shutter speed was up fast enough that the individual shots were quite clear. I didn't talk about taking pictures. So the image quality of the picture, it's not what you're going to see from a digital camera or a cell phone, but it's still an excellent quality digital picture. As for the nighttime footage, it definitely struggled there. You could see where the headlight lit things up really well. It did quite well, but in low light, you get a lot of noise. I don't know if they could fix that with software or firmware upgrade in the video processing or not, but I suspect it's a limitation of the sensor. Electronic cameras are always a compromise. You can have it do really well in bright light, or you can have it do really well in darkness. But unlike our eyes, cameras don't really do well at both. So they know that primarily this is going to be used in the daytime, so that's where they really focused its capabilities on. Not to say it's not usable at nighttime. You saw the footage, it's definitely usable, but if you're going to be using this in a dark environment, you don't have great headlights, you're not going to be picking up a whole lot. What did I do? How did I work it? I did not use this battery on it. I actually used this battery pack, and I just plugged this battery pack in. This is a 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack. It ran this camera for, I actually left it plugged in and running by accident. It ran for 8 hours and it used only 25% of this battery pack. So I actually ran out of memory before I ran out of battery, and it just started looping over and overwriting the oldest files. And I do only have a 128 gig card in there. You can put up to a 512. Because it is 4K, it creates huge files. I have mine set for 3-minute files. Each of those files is about a gigabyte. So if you have a 128 gigabyte card like I have here, you'll get roughly at 4K resolution 6 hours of video files before it starts overwriting. If you got a 512, then you'd have roughly 24 hours of video before it started overwriting the oldest files. So this battery worked really well. This battery I did use as well. I have no idea how long it will run it for, but I suspect it'll be longer than you would care to ride in a day. Did I have any problems or concerns? Okay, the mount itself, I really liked it. I have my doubts about if you might catch these little things sticking out when it's mounted on the helmet. They do kind of stick out a little bit. I suppose you could catch something on there and maybe break one off, but I think it's fairly solid. It comes on and off really easily. You can do it with gloves on, which is really nice. The microphone, I actually put it in here in the side so that it actually shoved up inside my helmet in front of my mouth. As you heard in the video, the audio was crystal clear. There was almost no outside noise. The microphone rejected outside noise really, really well. So if you were looking to do a moto vlog and you want to dictate and talk as you're riding, this would work amazingly well for that. You get great video, great sound. You can't really ask for more. A couple of things I don't like. The mount itself, it's tough to get it on and off. You kind of have to pry it out to get it off to get the camera off the mount like that. And if you want to get the video card out, you have to do that, and then you have to do these mounts, or these clips off, like that, and then you pull it apart, and that gets you access to the video card. So each time you want to get the video card to maybe pull the files off it, you have to go through all of this, undoing this part, and then put it back in the mount each time, which is a kind of a pain. And if the thing is mounted on the helmet, just by getting it in and out of the mount, it kind of tends to move this a bit, which is it takes a little time to get it pointed exactly right. And that is actually my next point. You do need to use the phone app to get it pointed the way you expect it to be, because where you think the thing is pointing when you're riding is probably not where it's actually pointing. I had my original videos I had it pointed down more like this. I thought, yeah, that's about right. I ended up with a video looking down at my speedometer for pretty much the entire video. So I didn't bother checking the camera beforehand. I just assumed it would be all right. So I ended up having it more up like this. And I did that by using my phone and aiming it while I was sat on the motorcycle. So I would highly recommend you do that. And just check it every so often to make sure that it's pointing exactly where you thought it is pointing. The internal microphone on the bottom is this little hole, and it's offset to one side. And there's a little divot in the bottom mount here that supposedly, I guess, would be to let that microphone be exposed. However, it doesn't line up. And as you can see here, it actually covers up that microphone. So when you're riding and you have this battery on and you're using the internal mic to record, there's almost no sound recorded at all. You certainly aren't going to pick up anything that you say. There's no wind noise, but there's also almost no noise of any kind. You can try turning up the recording level in the application to maybe offset that. I contacted the manufacturer and they said that was actually by design. They did that intentionally to try to cut down on the wind noise going into this microphone. I suspect that they could have done something different. Maybe if they cut out the notch and then put a little bit of foam there or something, kind of like the foam windscreen on this microphone, which is, that cuts down on the wind noise. Maybe if that's a concern of yours, you could maybe do that yourself. Maybe they may change it. The other issue I had was, if you remember, I had two microphone setups. I had the first one here, which is the one that I end up using, that had just the coiled cord and going to the microphone. And then the other one, which is the new one they sent me, which actually disconnects, so the microphone can be disconnected from this main connector. Well, this one didn't work. When I had this one plugged in, the unit only recorded using the internal mic. And it took me a couple trips out, and I was running, I was like really yelling into the microphone, and I was getting, and the recordings were really, really quiet, and I could barely hear myself talking. I thought something's really wrong here. So I sat down with it at home and played with it a bit and realized that when this is actually plugged in, it's using the internal mic. It's not using this mic at all. So I did contact the manufacturer about that. They wanted me to make sure that I had updated to the latest firmware in the camera, because apparently that was a problem that was fixed in the firmware. However, it is running the firmware that they said to update to. So they suspect this microphone might be defective. They're going to send me another one. So maybe that's an issue, maybe it's not, but whatever it was, the original microphone that came with it did work just fine. So I suspect that even if that was the issue, they'll have it fixed by the time anyone were going to buy one of these in the stores. I did have a little bit of an issue with it when it was on the helmet, and this was plugged into the back here. The wire going from the microphone to the camera is quite long. It kind of dangles down, so I just kind of like wrapped it around a couple times, and that dealt with it, and it was fine just like that. So not a huge issue, just a little bit of an annoyance. Other than that, I actually really liked it. I like the fact that it has the shorter mount as opposed to the original mount. As you can see, the difference between the two, where it actually mounts on the camera, is considerably different. It's less than half the width. So instead of having this honking big thing hanging off the side of your helmet, which would catch a lot of wind, and you probably tire you from the wind yanking on one side of your helmet, this one is much smaller. Even when I stuck my head into the windstream, because I have that great big windshield, remember, I didn't feel this at all. The concern I had regarding having something mounted on your helmet that might impact something and cause rotational injury on impact, I don't think is going to be an issue here. I suspect, what my thought is that if you were to crash while wearing this, that this mount right here, which is held in place with these two little plastic nubs right there, would shear off. I mean, you'll probably ruin the camera, and if you're crashing, that's probably the last thing you're worried about. But I think this would just pop right off without causing rotational motion into the helmet that could cause a brain injury from that type of motion. RI helmets are actually designed to be very, very smooth and rounded so that when you hit something, it glances off. That's why I actually worried about that. Again, this is on really, really tight, with the mounting the VHB tape, and it is a sharp edge. That could potentially catch on something and cause some significant rotational movement of the helmet on impact. That's a risk you just will have to decide whether you are willing to take or not. Some people don't see a problem with that at all. Other people, they look at their helmet as sacrosanct. They don't really want to mess with it. I do like that this does not drill holes or otherwise compromise the structure of the helmet. The helmet remains intact and strong even with the camera mounted. As far as getting videos off it, I removed the card, put it in my computer, and copied them that way. I did try copying the files over Wi-Fi, but they're gigabyte files, and it is a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi signal that it uses, so it's really not. It's 54 megabits at the fastest possible speed that it can do. So copying files is just insanely slow. So unfortunately, I don't think that's really a viable way of getting the files off this thing. Yes, it's great for connecting to it and editing it. And in an emergency, I would maybe think about using it to get files off it. You know, if you needed to get files on the side of the road for an accident or something. But otherwise, you really need to take the card out to get the files because it's just not viable to do it over Wi-Fi. And that's not unique to this camera. Pretty much every Wi-Fi enabled dash cam of any kind has the exact same problem nowadays. The video files are just so massive that copying them over Wi-Fi is just unusably slow. And unfortunately, in order to get that, because the card is actually stored in this weatherproof little socket space in the back with its gasket to keep it weatherproof, you do have to disassemble all this stuff to get to that card. It's a price you have to pay. Overall, what do I think of the Innovv H5? Like all the Innovv cameras, it's a high quality unit. I am super, super impressed with the responsiveness of the manufacturer. I sent an email mentioning a couple of the problems I'd encountered. I got a response within a couple of hours. They were really interested in my thoughts, anything I had to say about it. And that has been my experience universally with Innovv. They're extremely responsive to their customers. They listen to the customers, they listen to what the customers want, and then they build cameras around those requests and requirements. So really responsive, really impressed with Innovv. They make quality cameras. It's not a cheap camera, but it's a quality camera. It's not some piece of junk on Amazon that's gonna fail and overheat in a month from now. So you really get what you pay for when it comes to cameras like this. They do support their cameras with continuing firmware updates. Even the older cameras get periodic firmware updates, so that's nice to see as well. I really did like the user interface. It was pretty easy to figure out what you're doing, even though you can't see it. You can press the button and it buzzes loud enough that you can hear it right in the helmet, and it buzzes with different patterns, let you know what it's doing. Really innovative method of working the thing, which I really thought was impressive. Overall, I'd say thumbs up. I really like this camera. I really think I will continue using this camera. I can see a number of uses for it, not just motorcycling, because you can fasten it on all kinds of things. You could stick it on the side of an airplane, of a car, or whatever. Really impressive little device. A really good video quality. I'm not going to mention the price because the price continually changes, so I will just put a link to this in the description below. You can click on it. It'll take you over to Amazon. You can check out whatever price it's selling for at the time you're watching this video. If you do have any questions, comments, corrections, anything you want to say about this camera, or maybe something I didn't cover that you want to know about, check out the discussion area down below. Once I do get an update from the manufacturer with the updated microphone, I'll check out and make sure everything's okay, and I'll put an update down in that discussion as well. Maybe I'll put it in the description too. If you like this video, found it of any use whatsoever, please click like, click that thumbs up, and then click subscribe and click that little bell, because then you get notified every time we post one of these videos. If you hated this video, you thought it was terrible, click like, because it lets us know that you really disliked the video or something like that. And don't forget to check out the Goldwing Docs website. 95,000 members, Goldwing owners just like you, friendly people willing just to say hi, help you out with any problems you might have. We've got tons and tons of reviews of products like this. You can have a look at the other Innovv cameras. I will put a link to those in the description below as well. Thanks for watching. Anywhere near as far, and that's nice. So now we pause for an interruption. And right now what I'm trying to do here is find a police officer to give me a speeding ticket so that I can capture that on camera, or at least that's apparently what I seem to be doing, so I'm going to slow down here.